Hi everybody, welcome to episode 25 of Pins and Needles. My name is Zoe. You can find me on Instagram and on Ravelry as Pins and Needles UK. We also have a Ravelry group, Pins and Needles Podcast, so come and join us there for a chat. You can direct message me on Ravelry Instagram or on my email, which is hipinsandneedles@gmail.com. This is my 1 year podiversary. I know, it's been a whole year since I started doing this. Not quite to the day, but as near as. So I wanted to say bigger than usual thank you to everyone who's watched, commented, given me a thumbs up, whether it's here or Instagram or Ravelry or anything. I was nervous about starting it, but I'm so glad I did. I've made new friends and taken part in so much fun stuff. And it's all thanks to you lot. So thank you so much. And hopefully the next year of podcasting will only get better. It's been about a month since I did a proper podcast. The last 2 weeks ago, I just did a little Wonderwool vlog. So I've got quite a bit of stuff to show you. I've got heaps, lots of heaps. And you may have noticed that Demelza the dummy is back. I don't want to talk too much about Wonderwool because obviously I did that in detail in the vlog, but I'll show you my purchases and do a little bit of chat in the needles section in my knitting bit a bit later on. If you want to skip the chat at the beginning, if you want to jump to a particular section, do check the drop down box below because I will put timestamps in there and you can just head straight over to the section that you're most interested in. So yeah, I went to Wonderwool. I had to write a list. I've got quite a list. So I did Wonderwool with Jennie. Took the kids to see Guardians of the Galaxy, which I loved. I really love action films. And Guardians of the Galaxy is basically action film in space. So we all went and saw that. And the best thing, the absolute best thing about the whole trip was our local cinema. It's in Cardiff Bay. And it's an Odeon. It's like a big 12 screen proper job. And it's quite expensive. We're a family of 5, so we don't go terribly often, but we really wanted to go. So Dave said, right, we're going, I'll take you. And we always buy our snacks from the supermarket because Odeon prices for pick and mix is astronomical. So I took my big handbag and I had some little pots of sweets for the kids and some tins of Coke and things like that. And when we got there, we went to like an early afternoon showing, so it was fairly quiet. And just under the staircase by the reception desk bit, there were 2 blokes who were obviously doing a promo for Saurine malt loaf. If you live in the UK, you'll know what I mean by malt loaf. I don't know if you have it in the States. It's like a really dense, squidgy fruitcake. Anyway, and they were handing out free samples, like little lunch pack sizes like this. And obviously they were coming to the end of their shift and they just wanted to get rid of it. So they handed all of us literally 2 massive handfuls of free cake. And then they filled my handbag. So Guardians of the Galaxy was great, don't get me wrong. But banana saurine malt loaf, amazing. Free cake, what's not to love? So that was Guardians of the Galaxy. My smallest boy, Max, turned 10, which I can't quite believe. So he wanted a barbecue in the back garden. So he had 10 friends over, plus my 3. And that was chaos. And my parents came down for that weekend. So we then did like a family. Oh, that's Jim the dog just coming in and having a shake. Are you wet? Yeah, so then my mum and dad came down. And we had a family birthday the second day. So it was a whole weekend of celebrations, which was a lot of cooking and cleaning, but it was fine. And he's now properly 10. He really feels like he's 10 now, so that's great. The children have also had their SATs, which is like national testing for kids. So that's been okay, actually. My kids are fairly chilled out. They weren't stressed by the tests. And now they're doing fun stuff in school to make up for it. What else do I need to tell you about? I need to remind you about the hashtag 3amigas knit along. I must admit, I haven't been quite as on top of this knit along as I was for my newfangled make along in January. But that 3amigas knit along is with myself, Jennie of Owl About Yarn and Ellie of Tyddyn Bryn. I will leave details and links down below. But the idea is knit or crochet something from scratch, no whips allowed. It must be a minimum of 200 grams, and then you can get entered into a prize draw. I'll tell you about my my entry for that a bit later on in the knitting section. So that's the intro done. On to pins. Yay, pins! I was really struggling. I'd completely lost my Sewjo. I'm so fed up with those stupid pyjamas, and I haven't managed to replace the broken needle in my overlocker. My sewing table was full of rubbish. I couldn't get myself going again. And I really wanted to sew something, but it all felt rather overwhelming. So I treated myself to a sewing magazine, which I don't normally bother with because the magazines themselves are okay, but I get most of my chat and news and interviews off people's blogs and things like that. Anyway, I bought this issue of Sew magazine. It's the June issue, issue number 98, and it was £5.99. And I bought it because it had a free pattern in that I looked at it and I thought, I really want to make that. So it is Simplicity K8089. There it is. And it's basically a very simple batwing top. I'm going to make version B, and it is super simple. It's a front piece and a back piece, both cut on the fold, and a neckband. And if you wanted to make the longer sleeve version, it's just an extra piece for the cuff. And it needs stretch knits, and I knew I had some in my stash, and I also had the the see-through elastic that I had a fight with for my Manita dress. It needs some of that. I think that goes down the shoulder seams to stabilise those. Anyway, so I thought that's just something I want to sew, and you can do it straight away because it's simple. I'm a bit of a type A crafter. I feel like it's the only bit of my life I have complete control over, so I need to get it exactly right. And my desire to make things exactly right often means I don't start, because I know I have to do so many alterations, and I don't want to make a toile, and I haven't got the time, and before you know it, I've talked myself out of even cutting out the pattern pieces. But I thought, given how much ease is in this pattern, and that it's got a 5/8 seam allowance, and that I've already got the fabric and its jersey, and I've got 3 meters of the fabric, I could just do it. I could just trace off the pattern, cut it out, and sew it up and have done with it. And I made a start yesterday, actually. So this is my fabric. It's coming up pretty well on the screen. It's a pretty lightweight viscose jersey, and I bought it from Miverva Crafts. This is just the front piece. Let me show you. Can you see? That's the front piece. So it's got a cutout for the neck, but it has these big batwing or dolman sleeves. Doesn't even have a cuff. I'll just hem these. When I've sewn it together, I'm going to try it on, and depending where it sits on my arm, I might add the cuff on afterwards for a bit of extra length. We'll see. But literally, front and back piece, I think there's 3 notches in the whole piece. It's super simple. And as I was pinning it on Demelza, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, I just noticed that the pattern is not quite, there's a glitch in the pattern down here. Can you see? I think you can, yeah, look, just there. I don't suppose it'll matter because it'll bunch up. You can see how drapey it is, lots of lovely movement. But I really like the colour. It is, interestingly, the exact same colour as the carpet in my back room. So when I traced the pieces off, I had the fabric on the carpet, and then I had the tracing paper over the top, and it was actually quite hard to see the centrefold line because obviously I have beigey bronze carpets. Anyway, so it's all cut out. I didn't get a chance to sew it up last night. I was pretty pooped. But I'm very hopeful that this will be a finished object next week. So I'll put some photographs up on Instagram. And if it's a successful shape on me, I may well make some more, and I might even make one for Jocelyn. The only pattern modification I made was to add 1 extra inch to the bottom. It is actually quite a long top anyway. If you see, can you see it on this picture here? It's a scrunched up bottom. That isn't a separate band. It's all just one long piece, and you sort of hitch it up and arrange it yourself. So I thought, well, there's already plenty of extra length there. So I added an extra inch on the bottom just for luck, basically. Quick mouthful of tea. All my favourite mugs are in the dishwasher. Look, I've got to use Dave's Top Gear mug with the stig on it. I hate Top Gear. Oh. Now, I put this project up on Instagram a couple of days ago. I had some lovely comments about it. And the very lovely Julie, who is Yarn Babe 99, was just messaging me back and forth about it. She's making a yellow jersey one this weekend. I'll be checking on Monday to see if you've made it. And she suggested that I just measure the hips and check the stretchiness of my fabric to make sure it was going to fit there, which was an excellent tip, and I'd already thought of that. The only issue I think I might have with this, and I thought it'd be worth mentioning to Julie, is the neckband. Now, I bought the pattern because I need to show you. Right, because I wouldn't, if anyone knows how to help me with this. So here is the pattern cutting layout. So you can see the front and the back pieces are on the fold, which is absolutely fine, but the selvages aren't lined up. So it's double thickness here, but single thickness at the top. And this little rectangle bit here, that's the neckband. So half of it is on the doubled fabric, and this top half is on a single layer of fabric. And I thought, and it says here, if layout shows a piece extending past the fold, cut out all of the pieces except the piece that extends. Open out the fabric to a single thickness. Cut extending piece on right side of fabric in the position shown. I don't really understand what that means. It's this bit. So here it is saying cut out the bit that's on the fold and then open it out so it's on the single. So I don't really know. I'll show you what I did and then you can all point and laugh. I must also confess, I was on my second glass of wine by this point. So my attention to detail was probably lacking, but my willingness to just have a go was way up there. Okay, right. So this is my neckband. Okay, so, hang on a minute now. What have I done? I don't think I managed to cut any of it on the fold. Good grief. This is my neckband, and what I've ended up with is one long strip like that, and then an extra half strip from there to there, but none of it seems to be joined together. Well, maybe I'll have another go at that later on today. Sober. Don't drink and sew, people. So yes, I think I need to start again with that, but how you do it half on the fold and then open it out to a single thickness is a bit beyond me. So Julie, if you've got any thoughts, let me know. If anybody else has any suggestions apart from cut out fabric before you have a drink, let me know in the notes down below. So that's what I've got on my sewing table at the moment. Now, a while ago, in my Choose Company section, I mentioned a blogger that I'd found recently, Shona, and her YouTube channel was Sewjo, which is very difficult to say. And she has very recently changed her name, and she's opened an online fabric and haberdashery shop. She's changed her name, and the shop is now called sewisfaction.co.uk, and she's Sewisfaction on Instagram as well. So I've been watching her vlogs for a while, and it was actually her that kick-started my Sewjo again. She showed a couple of patterns that I just thought, I want to make those. First up, she had a kimono pattern she was sewing. I think it might have been the Sew Over It one. I found a different one. I found Simplicity 1318. There we go. And again, I thought, because of the style, this is a pattern that I can just make. You know, I could easily add a bit of length, but I could just do it. No prattling around with alterations or chest measurements or any of that jazz. I could just get on with it. So it's got quite a few different styles, and I wanted to make this one, and I don't have any fabric. I tried to order some off eBay, but made a pig's ear of it and it hasn't arrived. And I thought this short one might be nice for Joss. And you know, summer isn't ever terribly warm in Wales, and so this would just be nice as a cover-up. And it says, silky, lightweight, woven fabrics with drape. Batiks, chameurs, crepe de chine, georgette, etc. So, I'm off to the Handmade Fair at Ragley Hall tomorrow with Jocelyn and my mum. I'm going to take this with me and see if I can find some fabric to go with it. Again, it's very simple, you know, front, back and a border. So that should get me going. So thanks to Shona for the inspiration for that one. And Shona was also taking part in the hashtag Sew Together for Summer, which I think I've mentioned before. It's another Instagram sew along, and it's for a shirt dress. It's being organised by @rocco.sienna, @SewSarahSmith and @SewingInSpain. Again, links are all down there. And you just have to sew any shirt dress you like by the, I want to say the 21st of June. I think that's the cut-off date. And Shona showed this pattern, which is McCalls M6885, and it's easy because it says so on the pattern packet. Easy. So when I make a pig's ear of this, you can all say, actually, that's easy. That's your fault. And what I quite fancy is this one. So it does have a collar and 3/4 length sleeves, and I think it's got ties so you can tighten it at the back. But I like this version as well, sleeveless, and not sure about this one, maybe not. And this has a dipped hem. It does also include the pattern for the hat. No. So yeah, semi-fitted pullover dresses have collar, collar front bands, front pleat and narrow hem. Tie sleeves. Suggested fabrics, crepe, chambray, cotton blends, polished cotton. So in case you can't quite see the detail, although it's a shirt dress, the buttons don't come the whole way down the dress. It stops at about halfway, so it's a long placket rather than a full button front. And I have a shop bought linen green tunic top that I absolutely love, but ultimately it's too small across the chest for me. And I've been dithering about getting rid of it because I just love it so much. But this is very similar indeed. So I'm going to have a go at sewing this. And I've got more stash fabric. So this is some cheapest chips poly cotton that I bought from Butterfly Fabrics in Cardiff a good few years ago. Again, I got 3 meters of it, and my plan is to make a wearable toile. I've got plenty of old bed sheets, but I'm hoping that my skills are improved enough that I could make something that will at least be able to wear around the house or walking the dog. And I can always add an extra large seam allowance so I can let it in or out at the hips. And I don't think, no, there's no darts in this pattern. So you know, whizzing it back through the machine to take the sides in a bit shouldn't be a problem. So that's my wearable toile fabric. And quite a while ago, I made myself a denim skirt. It's the one I'm wearing. And I think that was a So Simple Chelsea skirt. And I've got loads of the denim left over. Again, it's just a nice indigo denim. It's reasonably lightweight. Yeah, it's not thick. It's certainly not jeans weight. And that will just be nice for summer. And depending on how much there is in the way of facings, I might try and find some nice cotton from my stash. So I have sort of, if you can see the inside of the collar, maybe I could have some nice scraps of fabric with flowers on or something like that. So that's my plan. McCalls M6885 shirt dress. We'll see. I'm going to finish this top and take it from there, I think. Onto needles, my knitting bit. So as I mentioned previously, go and have a look at my Wonderwool vlog. That's the video just before this one. I show you all the grounds of the place that we were and the bed and breakfast we stayed in, and I do a sort of a quick walkthrough tour of the festival itself and show you some of the animals they had. So it was 2 weeks ago now that we went, and I was going as Jennie's stall helper. It really is a two-person job. If you can take a friend, it makes everything an awful lot easier. So I caught the train to Taffswell, and then Jennie picked me up in the Owl About Yarn party bus. And it's about 2.5 hours from where we are to Bilth Wells, which is where the Royal Showground is. So I said to Jennie I'd do lunch for the Friday. So I had a big freezer bag and I had a picnic lunch and a picnic dinner. So we drove about halfway, and then Jennie pulled into her second favourite lay-by. Who has favourite lay-bys? I mean, who has one? Never mind more than one, so that you'd be able to have a second favourite lay-by. And I said, second favourite? Why is this a favourite lay-by? Because she's originally from, well, coastal mid Wales, so she knows the area very well. And I was thinking, oh yeah, favourite lay-by, right, okay. Turns out it's just a great spot for a picnic, so shame on me. Anyway, so we had a picnic, lay-by picnic. Hammered on, got to the showground, set everything up, and went back to the bed and breakfast and had a bed picnic, as we do. And then it was the show itself on the Saturday, and it was the second year we'd been there, so we were a bit more up to speed with everything. And as usual, meeting people was the absolute best bit of it. Quite a few of you guys came and said hello, which was wonderful. And I wanted to say a special hello to Seaside Sue and Wendy and Deb of Sheepy Lane, and who else did I see? Oh, Ange. How can I forget Ange? Lovely Ange, who is the new owner of Yarn and Yarns wool shop just in the next town over from me. And we've been messaging back and forth but hadn't actually met. So she came and said hello and very kindly bought us a little snack bag with emergency bananas and tea bags and flapjacks in, so that was lovely. I also, I positively pounced on Amy of Stranded Dye Works podcast. I really enjoy watching her videos, so I went and pounced on her and said hello and introduced myself. And it was totally worth it, because then she followed me back to the stand and bought some of Jennie's yarn. So that just goes to show what no sense of shame can do for your business. I also caught up with Estelle and Mark of Midwinter Yarns. Hello, always lovely to see them. And they had a friend of theirs, Enrico, helping out on the stand, and I had a lovely chat with him. He's an Italian living in Paris, and he has a teeny tiny little yarn shop, and he's on Instagram as, let me get this right, Les Tricoteurs Volants. So it was lovely to chat with him, and you just meet the most interesting people. So that was an absolute hoot. I think other than that, it's just showing you what I bought. I did go with a bit of a budget. and I spent it. I wanted to knit myself a summer t-shirt. Jennie and I are selling at Yarningham, which is the Birmingham yarn show, in June, and last year it was incredibly hot. The venue has a glass central panel to the roof, so it's like a greenhouse. So I wanted a nice cool t-shirt that I could knit up, and I'm also planning to sew some shorts. So I found this pattern. This is Quince & Co. Cullum by Isabel Kerrmaier. So this pattern's knitted in linen. What does it say? Light and lacy, basic and flattering. The linen's sheen plays well with the sleek lace appearing at the neck and hem. So you sort of, it's a paid for pattern, so I won't give the details away, but the top bit is knitted a little bit separately, and then eventually you join it and knit the whole thing. So I wanted some linen, and I had seen on Instagram that Estelle of Midwinter Yarns had some linen. So at 9:45, before the show even opened, I headed over to her stand and bought myself 3 skeins of this. Now this is Lithuanian linen, 100% linen, heavy lace to light fingering. 100 grams gets you 450 metres, which is 492 yards. This is colourway 9.4, and I think it's avocado, but I can't quite remember. So I have never knitted with linen before, and quite a few people have said it's a bit like knitting with cotton. It can be quite hard on your hands. It certainly feels a bit like parcel string, but Estelle has lots of samples knitted up on her stand, and she was wearing a cardigan knit in this but doubled, and her husband Mark was wearing a scarf that he's had for years, and it still looked fantastic, and it was really soft. Both the cardigan and the scarf were beautifully soft, so I'm very confident that the finished item, once it's been through the wash a couple of times, will be stunning and will have that drape. I don't have a problem knitting with cotton. It doesn't make my hands ache. I'm not a terribly tight knitter, so I'm not too worried. I have caked one of them up, and there it is in all its glory. It's a bit smooshed up now, but when I pulled it off the ball winder, you know, normally with woolen yarns, you have the central hole, and then as you pull it off, the yarn goes whoop like that and fills in the gap. Didn't do it with this. It stayed a perfect hole in the centre. Now I'm between sizes on that pattern, so I knitted myself a gauge swatch, tension square. So this is the recommended needle size, which I think is 3.5. Then I went down to 3.25 and then down to 3mm, and you can see the difference. You can definitely see my cardigan through this size, and by the time you get to the 3mm you can't. So I haven't actually done the maths yet to work out which size I need to knit, but hopefully one of these will give me the correct size. I think I'm going to need to wear a camisole underneath it anyway, so it doesn't matter too much, but you can see, you know, it's already got a reasonable amount of drape, and it does feel lovely and cool. So that's what the bulk of my money went on. I also wanted to buy some 5mm DPNs because I'd lost my original set. I had some of the Symphony Wood Knit Pros, and I'd ordered a replacement set, but I'd accidentally ordered really short ones, so they were useless for knitting a hat. So I nipped over to the knittingforfun.com stand. It's a huge stand, absolutely packed with needles, like the full Knit Pro range of knitting needles and crochet hooks. It does chowgoos and hires and all sorts. And I bought myself a set of zings. I've never knitted with zings before, so I thought I'd give them a go. I'd rather they weren't pink, if I'm honest. It says a style statement for every discerning knitter. Anyway, aluminium DPNs, 20 centimetres. And you know what happened, don't you? Can you guess? As soon as I got home, I went to tuck them away into my needle thing, and I found my original set. Anyway, now I have 2 pairs. So a set of needles, and also I'd run out of man-friendly sock yarn. I've knitted my dad his Christmas socks already, but Dave needed a pair, and he's pretty hard on his socks, so I don't give him the nice stuff. And I said, what colour socks do you want this year? And he wanted blue. I think I got this from knittingforfun.com stand as well. So this is the West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply self-striping. It does have a wordy name, but I can't remember it, and they don't print it on the ball band. So this is colourway 06831. Yeah, I've knitted with this before. It's a slightly lighter weight fingering yarn, but that's not a problem. And I'm looking forward to casting on with this. I don't have a pair of socks on the needles at the moment, so this might actually be perfect. So that's all I bought from Wonderwool. Oh, no, I lie. I did buy another ball of self-striping fingering. It was only 50 grams, and I bought that for Jocelyn. She said, Mummy, please could you bring me back some thin yarn? So I said, yeah, okay. So I'll need to find her something to pair that up with. I think I've got some navy sock yarn hiding in a stash basket somewhere. And then that would pad it out a bit, and maybe she could make a scarf or something like that. So that was all I bought at Wonderwool. One of the stands we visited was Beaker Buttons, and I'd completely run out of money by that point, so I didn't get to buy a kit there, but I did order one when I got back. Now, if you live in the States, you might not have heard of Dorset buttons. I'm going to crinkle. And this is what Dorset buttons are. There you are, there's different designs there. And basically, here we go. You start with a little brass ring. I've got a whole pack of them. And a very long piece of yarn. And an embroidery needle. And basically you start off by doing blanket stitch all the way around the outside of the ring, and then you wrap your yarn back and forth so you have like a crisscross, bit like a spider's web, and then you start weaving in and out to fill in gradually the centre. And there's different patterns and different traditions, and this is a pretty ancient, well, ancient might be pushing it. It's been around a long time in the UK, but it has been dying out. And it's down to the hard work and dedication of the Women's Institute that it's still going. And so I bought myself this kit, bit of yarn and the curtain rings. This is the pattern, and it comes with printed pages, several of them, so you can do one of each design. And Beaker Buttons is run by a lovely lady called Jen. Hi, Jen. And we had a nice chat with her. And if I read the back to you, it says, Dorset buttons were handmade in Dorset from the early 1600s up until 1851. They were shipped all over the world and were even worn by royalty. This cottage industry employed over 4,000 people at its height, making over 100 different button types. Their popularity died overnight after the Great Exhibition of 1851, when a new button machine was showcased. Many families were left destitute and emigrated to escape starvation, and the art was more or less lost. The WI and others have kept this fabulous craft alive, and now you can learn how to make them too. So yes, I'm going to make myself some Dorset buttons. She does have a website, it's dorsetbutton.co.uk, and as well as actually using them as buttons for fastening on cardigans, you can use them to make necklaces or bracelets. And I thought they might just be nice embellishments for a hat. You know, if you just have a couple on the headband, or make a couple to go on some fingerless gloves, something like that. So for £10, I got all the instructions, plenty of yarn, and I got 10 rings and an embroidery needle. So yes, very pleased with that indeed. and she had a lovely stand, really nice jewellery. And you can make brooches as well. People have sort of embroidered posy bunches in the middle of the buttons as well. So I'm looking forward very much to that. Oh, I've got one other acquisition. My kids go to the local school on Barry Island, and there is a lovely lady there called Jane, who I know watches. Hi, Jane. And Jane's crafty as well. She loves knitting for her granddaughters. I'm trying to make her knit something for herself, but she seems to be resisting. Anyway, she was out and about, and look what she bought me. Look at this. She found this fabulous notebook with pins and needles on it, and she bought it for me. So thank you, Jane. It's really lovely. I like that it's got these tabs in, and it's just got nice A4 lined paper. So I think this is going to be my next knitting notebook. And it's also got a plastic cover, which is brilliant because I do have a tendency to throw tea everywhere. So thank you very much for that. So that's all my purchases and acquisitions and things like that. I do have a finished object to show you. I'm kind of doing things in the wrong order today, but I have finished my Prairie Socks. There we are. I have also lost my sock blockers, so apologies that these aren't nicely arranged. They are like proof that there's two of them. So this is the Prairie Socks pattern by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. I knit this on 2.25mm needles. I used a one-of-a-kind BFL nylon sock yarn that was given to me by Ellie of Tyddyn Bryn. And I knit the largest size, 72 stitches. It's a heel, flap and gusset. I did the Eye of Partridge heel, which I haven't done before. It's simple enough to do. I'm not sure it's worth the grief. I think I'll do a standard slip stitch and then just a wedge toe. So, and you see the pattern on it there. So it's just got a little twisted stitch every third row, I think. Really pleased with it. It was that lovely, just hit the sweet spot of interesting enough to keep you going, brainless enough that you can watch TV. Dave and I have been watching Orphan Black on Netflix. Have any of you seen that? Oh, it's a BBC production, but I don't ever remember it being on terrestrial television. Anyway, it's a gripping thriller. So I needed something that I didn't have to look at because I was glued to the TV going like this. So yes, finished Prairie Socks. Really pleased with those. And I currently don't have a pair of socks on the needles, which is a bit of a travesty really. So I am toying with the idea of trying 2 at a time socks. My magic loop needle is 100 centimetres, so I've got plenty of space on there. And I know that Mina of the Knitting Expat podcast has a nice tutorial on knitting 2 at a time. So I thought I might try a similar pattern to this, you know, fairly simple, 2 at a time, and we'll see how we get on. That's my only FO. My only whip at the moment, or at least the only one that I can share, is the cardigan that I'm knitting for the hashtag 3amigas cal. So I'm going to have a quick rummage because everything's in a bit of a pile at the moment. I was doing so well on this cardigan and then I just completely ballsed it up the other night. Okay, so I am knitting the Vitamin D cardigan, which is a pattern by Heidi Kerrmaier. And there's a picture. It's a DK weight cardigan and it's knit in one piece from the top down. It's a paid for pattern, so I can't give you too many details. It's a very well written pattern, very clear, but that's only useful if you actually do what it says. So the last time I showed you, I think I had finished the yoke and I'd finished one sleeve. Sorry, I'm not terribly well organised today. The yarn I'm knitting it in is Sewjo Sublime Extra Fine Merino Wool DK in shade 0229. and it's a lovely mauve colour. And when I finish this cardigan, it will go beautifully with my Manita dress that I made. And I was zooming along on this, absolutely happy as Larry. I'm halfway through a row here. So basically, you knit the top and the yoke, you knit the sleeves, you seam them up, and then you continue on down the body. Now the body is knit all in one with the fronts and the back all together, which means the rows are very long. And to get that waterfall effect, obviously you're doing quite a bit of increasing. So I carefully wrote out my rows and where I'm doing my increases, and there's short rows in it as well. And once you've started knitting the body's in three sections basically. So I did the first section, no problem. Nearly halfway through the second section, and I made a mistake. Right, let's see if I can do this without losing all the stitches. Right, there's the cardigan. So you can see it's got this deliberate holes, lace pattern, which are very carefully worked into the decreases, and a medium sort of bracelet length sleeve with a bit of garter at the edge. So there's the front, and if I turn it around, there's the back. So I've done, you know, quite a lot of it. Now, oh look, I'm all tangled now, what's going on? Right, what I'm going to try and do is show you, oh, sorry to Elsa. Right, here's a bit of the inside. Now you can see these little odd looking bits here. That's where you do short rows and you do wrap and turns. So you can see here is the first line of wrap and turns for the first section, and I was just starting the second one. And I was watching Orphan Black and I just lost track of what I was doing. And I've mucked up. So my last 3 evenings worth of knitting has been tinking back stitch by stitch. Goodness knows how many hundreds of stitches, because if I rip it, I don't think there's a way of ripping it and not messing up the wrap and turn short row-ness. So I'm literally tinking back one stitch at a time, crossing that off on my page, turning it round, tinking it all the way back. So yeah, it's frustrating because I was really enjoying knitting this and I was powering through it, and I really want the cardigan. But with a bit of luck, I've only got another couple of rows to undo and then I'll be back in action. But I really love the design. I think it's going to be gorgeous. And look at those nice pretty decorative holes at the front. So there we are, that is my slightly error-ridden cardigan. Yeah, Vitamin D by Heidi Kerrmaier. And that is also the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were pleased to see I've got my sewing mojo back. I've kind of missed it. And thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give me a massive thumbs up and click the subscribe button. I'm this close to 1,500 subscribers. Please help get me there. That's my next little target in my brain, and I'm so close. And yeah, thank you very much indeed for sticking with me over the past year if you've been here since the beginning. And thanks for joining me if you're fairly new. Do come and join us in the Ravelry group. Come and find me on Instagram. I'll try and do a bit of vlogging of the Handmade Fair tomorrow. That might be quite interesting to show you. I'll have to see what the weather's like and what the noise is like in the background, so I might get some clips of that. And other than that, I will see you in 2 weeks' time. I hope you have lots of time for knitting and crafting and all that sort of thing, and I will see you soon. Bye!